Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of Vechain, taking a look at what's been going on most recently, what we think is likely to happen next and all that wonderful stuff. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, guys, you are missing a trick. Check it out, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. It is completely free and like I said, it's the first place that we go to notify you of the ins and the outs of what's happening here in the crypto space. So check it out, linked in the description below. Let's make a start though. We'll try to keep this as brief as we can whilst giving you everything I think is important to know about the price action of VET. So here we have VET paired up with USDT on the hourly chart and Binance is our data source. And just going to reflect a little bit on the structure that led us down here. Does to me look like we have a 5-wave move. And it looks like we had this kind of pit stop right here. Now, there are a couple of things I do need to just quickly sense check just to make sure everything is as I was expecting it to be. And I just want to make sure that I haven't kind of miscalculated anything anywhere. And then we'll go through what I think it might lead us into. Yeah, that's fine. So it does look like we come down here, we kind of finished this kind of third wave, we bounced up here into this kind of fourth wave movement, which was actually a little bit lower than expected. This came in on this high at 1.655, and then of course we come down into our yellow box area. Just down here, this is the 1.618 through to about the 1.236, or more specifically 1.508 to 1.541. Okay, so that's this area here. You can see that the price action just peaked into the upper area of this box, and then we come on out. Okay, so that's perfectly fine and is not a problem. Now we have this structure. Since this low end coming down here, we've seen the reversal to the upside. Now this is where things get interesting, okay, because within this kind of structure here, there's a lot of interesting overlapping movements, okay? So we can't easily see whether or not we've kind of got the 5-wave structure, because initially my thoughts were that we were going to be moving in a 5-wave fashion, something to this effect, right? And, you know, we actually saw this kind of move down here, so we'd be inclined to think it was this. However, this wave 3 does not meet our requirements just here, okay? So I don't think that's necessarily what's fully going on. And I can sense check this by using the fib tool, just go ahead and measure up the distances, pull this over to here. Let me just see where that actual wick low is, and you can see that we didn't hit the 1.618. If I grab hold of the actual arrow there, 1.618 is 1.616, and you can see down here we didn't reach those levels. Instead, we actually didn't get there until we had this high point just up here, which would mean that we'd have to adjust the fourth wave and the third wave according to this structure. And this is the one that I'm not quite liking. As soon as I start doing this and we start thinking like that, we actually end up with a rather deep wave 4 and, you know, an interesting kind of structure coming up here. So straight off the bat, this then starts to look a little bit different, a little bit strange. So I'm not inclined to think that that's exactly what is going on. This is definitely a 3-wave correction right in here though. This much we can definitely agree on. That's pretty straightforward. And if this side, where a most recent price action, we do appear to be potentially in the cusp of a 5-wave drop to the downside. So I'd be looking at this as a potential bigger move to the downside from this high here to something like that. This would be more inclined to think of a larger kind of structural move, which then makes me think maybe we're in some kind of ABC structure, some kind of zigzag pattern here. Maybe we have a diagonal right at the beginning, and then we end up with a move here. It might actually end up being 5 waves and slightly larger or something to that effect. So I think for the case of this video, what we're going to do is we're going to let the structures play out a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to focus in on what this is telling us right here, as that will allow us to kind of plot out where we think things are going to go. And then, you know, from there we can see whether or not that makes more sense once completed, wherever this kind of structure does end up finishing, to allow us to then kind of map out maybe the rest of this kind of pattern as to where it is going overall. So let's deal with that. Let's focus in on this area just here to start with, right? Because it's very interesting here. We had this move down, we moved up. In the move to the upside is 3 waves. You can see A, B, and C structure right in there, right? So we know it's a 3-wave corrective structure at that point. And then potentially this here could be another corrective structure in the making. We have this kind of move coming down, and we might peak up here, and this could be our little wave 4. Now, it's a little bit too soon to know for certain, but it's an interesting kind of structure. So if we take a look at the momentum, we're nice and low on the 1 hour. If I take a look at the 4 hour, we've come down quite nicely on that 4 hour chart. So looking pretty good from that perspective. The 8 hour is just coming out of there as well. 12 is nice and high, 16 is high, 20 is high, daily is high, weekly is low. So from a stochastic point of view, that would be a potential move that we could be thinking about here. And that would basically be that we come down in a wave 1, up here for a wave 2, this would be a wave 3, up into a wave 4, of which we cannot and should not cross wave 1, and then we pull back down like this, okay? So straight off the bat, we want to go ahead and put in our invalidation line at 1.647. Anything higher than that, that would be a potential end to that kind of pattern there. And we could be looking at a potential move coming down here. Now, no guarantees, of course. I'm going to give you two options with this, okay? So we can kind of plot out what we think is going to happen here. So straight off this kind of low, kind of bearish kind of scenario that we have, we would be targeting out 1.61 through to 1.618, okay? So that would be the lower side, okay? So that's option number 1. Let me cancel out of there and delete that. Okay, so that's option 1. We basically have this 5-wave structure. Once we have that 5-wave structure, we expect 3 waves back up and 5 waves back down to kind of finish a zigzag. Okay, that would be kind of where that would go. Now, the other option here is that this is just a 3-wave corrective pattern and it has already bottomed out. Okay, so if we do cross higher than 1.647, that is what is going on. Okay, it will basically be A, B, and C. And that's that. And then from here, instead of, if I remove that off, you wouldn't come down any lower. Instead, what we'd do is we'd start to continue this move to the upside. Okay, so this particular option is an interesting one. It would allow us to kind of look at this as a corrective structure, maybe within a bigger play overall. And we just can't see the full picture just yet. Now, I don't think we've got huge amounts of momentum left. So in the ideal world, what I would like to do, and you can kind of see it right here, is actually to finish off this 5-wave structure. Because finishing this 5-wave structure also means that we coincide with our 200 EMA here as well. So in an ideal world, yeah, coming down would actually be nice and neat because it would allow us then to actually plot this out as A, B, and C like this. And from there, we'll be able to then have a pretty decent correction that we can then map out on slightly larger directions, such as something to this effect, right? We'd be able to kind of say, look, we kind of have this bigger pattern in play. And it would make more sense over what is going on right in here as well. Now, there are a few other options, some that I think are less likely, but we need more information to really kind of anchor in on them. So we'll kind of leave this yellow box where it is because we know this is all kind of theoretical at the moment. We need more time, more candles in here to give us a bigger, clearer idea as to kind of what is going on. But one of the other things that we have to consider is this 3-wave correction that we mentioned at the beginning. This is a really interesting area. This could be a pivotal moment for Vechain, right? And actually, without overcomplicating things and looking at all the sub counts, we might be able to actually draw this on here, right in here, that's the low, okay, and say that we might be targeting out this 1.688 area, and it would be a big 3-wave structure when we already have this kind of correction. Now, this correction in the middle here could be a B wave of that completed structure, maybe where we do peak up towards the 1.7 if we're lucky, but basically A, B, and C like this, right? And we end up with this kind of 3-wave sub count of our larger ABC structure. Now, this one I do think is something that we want to be considering, we want to be thinking about, but at the same time is not something that is set in stone, okay? So this is one of those things where there's so many different ways that this can go. We can all agree that we do have a correction in the middle there, but these kind of structures on either side are not overly clear at the moment in time. The other thing that we could consider is that actually all of this is a wave 4, and we do have a much deeper wave 5 to come, and in which case this is our wave 3 low point. This is possible. It's not ideal, but it's definitely possible, and we would have to look at this as some kind of larger kind of correction coming down here, correction coming up, pulling down, up, and then pulling down again. I don't like it overall. It's not ideal in the way that this is structured out, but it is a possibility that we can't ignore. When we start zooming out, we would take a look at it like this. We had a good wave 1, wave 2. This would be our wave 3 and potentially 4, then followed down further in 5 waves. I think personally, though, that's not what's going on. I do think that actually we've already had the wave 4. I think we've already had the wave 5. Coming down here, and I think that actually what we're doing here is a potential correction to allow us to come down even further. And the biggest issue that we'd have with this is it could be really bearish when we have this completed out and we do something like this, okay, and we come down into those low areas as it's a big kind of 3-wave structure overall. Okay, so we'll let the time pass here and let the candles play out. Let's let buyers and sellers come in and show us their hands. We don't want to jump the gun anywhere. But yeah, for now, I would say time on Vechain is important. Let it kind of breathe. Let's see how this kind of forms out. I do think we've got enough momentum to kind of move us up a bit more, but I'm not expecting that to occur until we have pulled back a bit. And then I think, yeah, we have that potential 1.7. Once we do hit those highs, it's possible then we actually do end up breaking right the way back down. But, you know, we've been talking about swings in the market for a while. This hopefully isn't unusual to anyone. You know, we're talking about, you know, swings with 𝗕𝗘𝗪, for example, and a few others. I did buy some XRP recently at 30 cents, and I've read that quite nicely. I'm still holding that. I bought some Vechain, still holding this. So yeah, for the most part, I'm expecting a little bit further to the upside before we actually start to see these major corrections take us back down lower. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'm really interested to know how you think Vechain's going to go next. If you haven't already joined us in Discord, check it out. If you found this useful, smash the like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Until the next one, guys, have a fantastic day.